Divorce American Style is the 13th episode of the third season of Wings. This is directed by Andy Ackerman, and I was really excited to see how this would play out because the previous episode ended on a bit of a cliffhanger. I was really keen to see what would happen, and I'm pleased to say it was delightful. It was unpredictable. In fact, both parts of the narrative were unpredictable. So there will be some spoilers as I talk about what happens. I won't do a scene-by-scene breakdown like I occasionally do. With this one, I'll just talk very roughly about the two main parts of the narrative and share some thoughts. And the subplot, I'll talk about the main narrative in a moment, but the subplot involves a woman called Rachel. Joe finds her number in his jacket pocket, and he can't remember meeting her. So he phones her and they agree to meet. And of course, the big mystery is, will she be what he expects? Will they get on well? Well, it turns out that actually it wasn't Joe that she'd met. It was Brian, because Brian had driven into the back of her car and she'd managed to give him his number, hoping, of course, that he'd phone and not know who she was, which kind of happened, but with the wrong person. That, for me, was definitely unpredictable. I really liked how it played out. Very entertaining. Definitely very well done. The main narrative, of course, focuses on Helen and Antonio, and the fact that in the previous episode, they got married because Antonio's green card was running out, and it's unclear how they're going to get out of this marriage, and the immigration officer will be turning up at their doorstep without warning, so if they're not living together, it's going to come across as a sham for sure. And I genuinely had no idea how they'd go about resolving this, and what they end up doing is entering Antonio in this lottery where the government just randomly picks green cards for people or gives them their visa. That seems really dodgy and unfair. That doesn't seem like a practical situation, but that is what happens. And I thought something was obvious, and I don't know if it's just maybe I'm remembering the episode more than I thought. When I was watching this, I couldn't remember exactly how things turned out from the first time I watched it, so maybe that's worth bearing in mind. But when Antonio got the phone call and it seemed like he hadn't won the lottery, I felt like it was obvious, or there was something about it that was not quite what it seemed. And then, of course, Helen gets the phone call and takes a message for him, and we find out that actually he had won. And his explanation for not telling Helen was that he really enjoyed this week, and it had been honestly the best week he'd had since moving to America, and he just wanted to live with it just a little bit longer, which is so sweet. And I think it was the best way for things to end up. They couldn't stay married forever. It definitely wouldn't have worked. Well, maybe it would have done. I would have been interested to see how things would have played out, but I did like the way things went. And ultimately, I really enjoyed this episode. I had no idea what to expect, and what we got was pretty great. Divorce American Style was very unpredictable, and ultimately a really enjoyable episode.